How do I start this thing?
Have you plugged the bloody USB in?
Yeah, it's in.
Nah, man, that's the wrong port. Oh, wait, it's flashing now.
Is it it's recording.
Well, let's start this thing, fool!
Hello, everyone. I'm Amelia.
Hi, I'm Sam. Welcome to Ask the Duo podcast, a podcast where we get deep into those late-night, unfiltered conversations.
We'll be discussing all things lifestyle, relationship, mindset, and more.
All right, let's get to it.
What's up?
Welcome back to Ask the Duo podcast. This week has been a interesting experience for me. Obviously in lockdown because one person has COVID.
Not me. Nah, it is me.
So, yeah, all I have been doing is researching car speakers and stuff like that. So for the guys who don't know, we've recently got a secondhand car. Relatively newish, but the sound is pretty shit. Now, we as a couple, we appreciate music. We appreciate the sound quality. So I've sort of took it up a mission to improve it. So I've been looking at different speaker sizes, components, woofer types, understanding the specs of speakers, RMS, wattage, hertz and that sort of stuff. So for you guys out there who are listening, who are sound gimps, I love it. I appreciate sound. So...
Or you can even recommend him some sound stuff if you guys know what to look for.
Yeah, so I've sort of dived into a bloody hole of looking into speakers and stuff like that, looking into sound deadening, understanding how to apply it, areas of where to apply it. So yeah, I'm pretty gimped out in terms of car audio. So that's been me for the last week. Whereas this lady over here, she's just stuck in a room, coughing her guts out and having a fever.
Actually, it was only last night that the cough started like crazy. So my symptoms have been quite mild. I got it, Tuesday night?
Tuesday, midday, I think it was, lunchtime.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know I had that time. But anyways, I started off with a fever, which I actually felt because I was really cold, chills, body aches. I did get a headache. Headache wasn't too bad because I usually suffer from headaches anyway, so that was nothing compared to the migraines that I get. So yeah, it was quite mild. I was actually bracing myself for the worst experience I've ever had in my life, but then nothing really happened. But the weirdest thing for me is just the ongoing fever. But the thing is, the thermometer says that I have a fever, but my body, myself physically, I feel completely fine. So I'm just confused. But then, yeah, the fevers were going down finally. And then yesterday, randomly got fever again, and I actually felt this one. So I just slept. And then, I randomly woke up at 1:30 and had a coughing fit. So the COVID that I have is really weird. I don't have runny nose. I didn't have a cough. And yeah, it was just fever, body ache that lasted a day. So technically just fevers. So really had nothing. But then out of nowhere, this cough just came. So yeah, now I'm coughing today. But yeah, I'm thankful that it's actually really, really mild.
Yeah, it been pretty mild. So it's not too bad on that front. But
not too shabs, bro.
Yeah, mate, not too shabs. Not too shabs, mate. All right, well, let's jump into, I guess, what we're going to be discussing today. And that's, does first impressions matter? And obviously, what counts as a first impression? Question mark.
Why you have to put question mark? You're not a book.
Well, people who are listening, they need to, feel what we, feeling.
What are we feeling?
Feel the vibe.
That's what you use voice tones for. That's what tones are for.
Mate, all right.
Yeah, right. Let's.
We don't fuck spiders here. Let's go.
You are. All right, let's jump into it. You start?
Okay. You start.
You said okay, so.
No. So I guess for you, do first impressions matter?
I feel like first impressions isn't like it's important, but I wouldn't judge someone just based on the first impression. But I wanted to elaborate in terms of what I think is first impression. So I feel like, yes, first impression is the time when you actually first see that person, you know. Their body language is mainly the thing that I count as first impression. What they're wearing it really depends on what I'm looking for, like what I'm doing with this first impression. Like if it's an interview or something, what they're wearing could be important. But if it's like, you know, friendship and stuff, not really. But I think the whole entire experience that you're there for, where this person is still there, that whole thing counts as first impression, because you can further see like more of their body language, how they interact with other people, how they communicate, they do things, like those kind of things all count towards a first impression. So I think that whole entire encounter with them, not just when you first see them and when you shake hands or say hi, or that whole thing counts as first impressions. What do you think?
Yep. So I agree in the fact that first impressions do matter to me. For me, I look at body language is first and foremost. How do they react? How do they talk? How do they carry themselves? How do they dress? Obviously, these conditions differ depending on the scenario, but I do believe that first impressions 100% matter. Diving deeper into this, what situation would first impressions matter? Like, how can we...
So what counts to you as first impression? Is it when you first took a glance at this person that said hi to you, or is it the whole entire experience that you're there for, like the whole entire hour that you're at this party or networking event?
Yeah, so as I said, it all matters. So all aspects of what I define as a first impression. So how do they perceive themselves? How do they talk? How do they dress? How do they look? How do they carry themselves?
No, I'm saying, like, what counts as first impression? Like, is it just when you first looked at that person, or is it the whole entire hour that you're there with them?
It can be either. It can be whether you just see them for 5 minutes. It's whether you spend an hour with them, 30 minutes.
It can't be either. Like, say it's in a 1 hour event, and you saw this person and that person said hi to you. Is that the first impression, or is it the whole entire hour that you are there with that person?
The first impressions, I guess, would be just meeting that person, right? For the first minute. Because that's what you're perceiving their physical aspects as an impression. So if someone came up to me and said, hey, g'day, mate.
Sagan.
My name's Barry. And I've fucking grabbed his hand and I shook it fucking with some grip. That's a first impression, because to me, he's come up to me, he's shown confidence, he's put his hand out and I've taken it and I've respected it. I'm saying, g'day, mate. So, you know, that to me is a first impression.
So not the whole entire hour?
No.
Because I feel like that whole entire first hour that you met them is also important. But I think I forgot to add that, yeah, first impression's important, but I wouldn't judge someone just from that first impression. Like, if I was able to meet them again,
yeah,
I would continue to observe to see how that person is.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't just base off that and just be like, nah, I can't talk to this person. Unless it was a definite, like, clear definition to show that this person is not a good person, then yeah.
Yeah, and to dial off what you just mentioned, like, yes, that is really important, because you can't judge someone off just that first handshake, you know what I mean? But it just depends on your own preferences, because I know everyone's definition or how they see things and appreciate things could be different. Just to see someone from that first glance, it's very hard to sort of gauge and define anything, right? It's really to spend time over with them, to get to know them, get to talk to them. That's how you could really define and understand who that person is as an impression point.
Yeah, and I say that we can't judge someone just from the first time we've met them is because even for us, we're really quiet when people first meet us, or even like the first few months, especially in a work setting, we're really quiet. And it's not because we're shy, it's just we're more observers. We like to see how people do things, how people interact, or what's happening, learn from them, and we're just really sitting back and truly listening and observe. So that's why we're really quiet. But then, you know, once we know that we can either trust these people or we can actually open up a bit more. That's when we start talking. So that's why I said I can't judge people just from the first interaction.
Yeah, that's actually really important too, in terms of who we are as individuals. We 100% come off as quite, what's that word, introverts in some regard, but when people get to know us, we're actually the opposite to some extent. So, yeah, it just really comes down to warming up to the environment and knowing what is the environment, right? So,
yeah. And obviously there's different situations too. So let's put a few scenarios. Let's say we'll give a few. Let's say one is more lifestyle one. You went to a coffee shop to grab a coffee and your first impression of the person who served you, like that's one scenario. Second one is work. Let's say you're doing an interview and this person came in. So we'll talk about that one as well. And then a third one is you went to a party, a really big party, and there was a person there, and then we'll talk about that in a deeper scenario there. And then do you want to do a fourth one or?
No, let's just start off with those first and go from that point. So the first one you said was a coffee shop. So
we'll give her a scenario. So say she was at the till, she was busy, and then you're standing there at the counter, like kind of waiting, but she hasn't said anything to you yet, but you can see that she's counting cash or writing something down. She walked off and then came back and she's still doing something. And then after maybe another 5 minutes, so in total you waited maybe 8 minutes. Now she's asked, "Hi, how can I help you?" So what is the first impression there for you?
This bitch is under the pump, or clearly has no customer service experience. Because if you're sitting at the till, it's common sense to say, "Hey, apologies, I'm just currently counting, give me 5 minutes." And that's common courtesy, right? So my impression from that would be, well, yes, I get that you're busy, but at least fucking don't leave me hanging, because I don't know how long you're going to be, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, you know what I mean? So that's my first impressions from it.
So say it continues. So she asks you what your drink is, you've ordered your flat white, and then now you wait to the side to, like, you know, kind of wait for your drink. And then it still took a while. She came out and she handed you the coffee, but she didn't say anything. She's just like, "Have a good day," that's it. What, like, does that still count as the first impression, or is that just like the first experience?
That still counts as an experience, which plays to the first impression, because she's the first time that I've met. Well, first time that I've met her and dealt with her. So if my experience from her is on that same occasion and she's obviously done that, then I'm going to think that she's inexperienced, but I'm not going to be full deep judging her where I dislike or hate her.
So
I'm just going to think, oh, well, that was pretty fucking rookie mistake from a customer service point of view. And what about you? How would you react from that?
Wait, before we go in, so say this is your favorite coffee shop. Would you go back if she was working?
Well, if I'm there for the bean, I'm going to go back for the bean, regardless of her being there or not. Now,
even if she may screw up.
No, so now if she was the only person at the till and she was just blatantly rude, then I would be like, fuck yeah, you've lost someone. You've lost a loyal customer, right? But if I'm there to experience the good coffee, then I may write that off, or I might write that experience off to keep going back.
Yeah, no, I think I'll be the same. So again, I would give them the benefit of the doubt and I would still go back, because maybe she just had a really bad day. She was, had a lot to think about, so that's why she didn't say anything and was like, "Oh, sorry, just give me 5 minutes," or something like that. Like, it could happen, which happens a lot at like a lot of restaurants and cafes and stuff anyway. So I would give the benefit of the doubt, but say it happened the second time, then I'd be like, "Nah, okay, I don't want to be served by this lady." And then, yeah, like, it's kind of hard. If it's like the favorite coffee shop, then yeah, I would go back just for the coffee, but hoping that she's not working.
Yeah, yep. So very similar mind frames when it comes to what we would both do. Now, on that flip spectrum, though, if we had like a barista who was serving us who was really happy, smiley face, like really gentle, just greets you as soon as you walk in, that's going to give you a different impression, right? That's just going to be making you feel welcomed to come in and order and get something from this person.
Yeah, even if like how some of them, they would give you a glass of water just to wait or something, even that kind of customer service is good, because then you're like, oh, they actually are caring for you, even though you're just getting a coffee, but having to wait that 5 minutes, they give you a cup of water, then you're like, oh, cool, like they actually care about their customers.
Yeah. Yep, 100%.
Yeah, and I think it also depends on the body language of this person that's serving at the counter. Like, say she was like bashing the till because she's like in a hurry and getting frustrated or something like that. Then from that first day, I'm already like, no, this person doesn't know how to work properly. Like, they just can't control their own emotions and is not creating a great customer experience from that. Then yeah, I'm just like, no, thank you.
Yeah. 100%. And you can feel that, right? You can feel the energy that a particular person's putting out. If their body language is negative, like bashing certain things or rough and just look like that person's not caring, that's just obviously going to turn you off, because you can feel the energy from that person. You just go, nah, okay, this is bad vibes, no good, don't like this.
Yeah. But in saying that, if you ever go to actually I think it's just Hong Kong. If you go to Hong Kong, there is no such thing as good customer service, and you're kind of just used to it. They're always in a hurry and they rush you to make the order. So if you can't decide and you're indecisive, they're probably like run off already. They'll be like, what do you want? What do you want to order? Hurry up. And then you're like,
Yeah, and that's a big difference with third world countries in some regard. There's no such thing as customer service, whereas like
they're there for the efficiency. Like, it has to be fast, quick, in and out.
It's the culture as well, right? And that's how they do things over there. So obviously customer service is not a focus. It's more about, as you mentioned, efficiency, getting shit in and out quick.
Yeah. And like in Hong Kong specifically, restaurants, any building, anything that you go to, everything is just tight. There's like no space. So even when you eat, like, I don't know if anyone like that's listening has ever been to Hong Kong, you don't get the luxury of having your own table. Sometimes you will be sitting with other people. So that's the extent of what it's like as well. So it's just trying to get the order in, get the order out, give you your food, you eat, you get out, and that's pretty much it.
Yep, exactly what the experience is. And I think for me, first experiencing that, it was definitely a big check of vibes, because you're not used to it.
Was it weird having to sit with other people for you?
Oh yeah, of course. Like you're so used to having your own space and that sort of shit. But over there's no such thing as space. It's like, well, you get what you get. So
we're not talking about, like someone just sitting on the other side of the table. Like, their shoulders are actually touching you. Like, their legs and their thighs are like touching you. That's how close it is. Anyways, on to the next scenario. What was it? The work one?
Yep, so work. So
you're interviewing someone, and say this person came in and he was, we'll give a few. So this first person is very well dressed, very well mannered. It was very confident in themselves, sitting there and like could answer all the questions that you asked. Is that the first impression, or do you think the whole entire interview is the first impression?
With work, it's a little different, right? So it's a combination of the two, because when someone comes in to a job interview, first things first is they're dressed up well, they present themselves well, and they've got the confidence to talk, right? But I also say that the full interview is also the full experience too, because you get to talk to them. You get to see how they react, how they perceive certain things as well. And that's what dictates and defines a person as a character. So I think the whole interview is very, very important when it comes to work, because you want to make sure that you're employing someone for the character and not for shit talking, because anyone can go in there, talk the talk, but not walk the walk. And that's how they get in, right? So it's very, very important to have the full experience.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it sounds kind of like dumb, but it's also just seeing how they walk into the interview room and how they interact with the receptionist and all that kind of stuff. All those count as well. Because if they're not confident in even just walking up to the receptionist, that shows how they are. So if they're really confident, really happy, you know, just saying like, hey, I'm here for an interview and saying it confidently, that shows something.
Yeah.
And then also I think how they greet you, like when you first start the interview and how they greet you as well, it also shows
Yeah, 100%.
their personality.
And what was the other example for the work?
Well, I was gonna give another scenario with like just a different type of person. So say this person wasn't dressed up all that well. Like say it's a corporate job, but that person wasn't dressed. Was just very casual. You know, didn't look like they put themselves together, walked with a body language that didn't seem like they really cared about themselves. Like just very, I don't know how to say it, like lousy. What would you think from that?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say to myself is, well, does this guy really want a job? Like, why is he here? Is he here because he's on the dole and he's just coming here to fucking tick the boxes so that he can get paid? Or what's his real intention behind coming here if you're not making the effort to present yourself well?
So, what if from then, when you started the whole entire interview, you realize he's actually really experienced, he knows what he's doing, he's actually really good at his job? Like, what would you think from there?
Yeah, so from my perspective, experience means nothing to me, or the competence, right? Because at the end of the day, you can teach anyone a skill. It's more about the character. Do they actually want the job? And are they willing to basically put every effort to learn, to build themselves as an individual, and to grow with the company? That's what that's what matters to me more.
Yeah.
So if someone came in and was like, yeah, I know how to do this, I know how to use this program, I know how to do that and that. Okay, cool. But what if we're not using those kind of programs? What if I threw you in the deep end and said, look, we're going to be using a whole new program? Are you able to adapt? Are you able to adjust yourself to that?
Well, it's not even that. Like, if they're not willing to learn, they're not willing to change what they've known to progress. And if they don't have the soft skills, no matter what kind of skill sets you have, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, you can teach anyone the skills. As long as they have the soft skills, you can teach anyone the skills of using a program, using database or whatever you need for your work. But you can't teach people manners and communication skills and being diligent and all those kind of things, hardworking. Like, you can't teach someone that.
Yeah. And the one thing you left out is common sense.
Yeah.
So you can't teach people that at all.
Mm.
So those things are really important to me when it comes to first impressions in a work interview environment, because you want someone that's a team player. You want someone that's to ride or die. You want someone that's willing to grow with you and with the company.
Mm.
Because in my experience, we've hired people that have impeccable experience, years in the game, but when it came down to their individual character, they were all trash. They were just talking shit.
Another thing that I learned from the design conference that I went to is you have to learn to unlearn. Was it unlearn to learn? So what it means is, get out of your own ecosystem. Like, you may have learned something that you've got a good grasp of, and you know how to work around these things. You have a certain process, whether it's like the same job, but you have to unlearn it to learn new ways of doing something as well to help yourself grow. Because, like, for example, the people that you talk about, like older generations who have learned something for so long, but then they only know that one process, but they need to unlearn that and try and learn with the new systems, new process to be able to move forward. So that's essentially what it means.
Yeah, 100%. And that's really important because as time grows, technology, processes change within minutes. So We have to be able to adapt and adopt and move with the times, on the run. So
Yeah.
it is really important.
Yeah. And I think we kind of went off topic.
Yeah, a little off topic.
Shall we go to the third scenario?
Yes. What's the third one?
So, third scenario, you're at a big 21st birthday. There's maybe 60 to 80 people, even 100 people. And so this is one where you don't actually meet the person face to face. Like, you don't talk to them. You don't say, hi, I'm Amelia. And that person's like, my name is blah, blah. It's just a really loud party. Everyone's drinking, but this one person is standing out because he seems to know everyone. He's going around talking to everyone, but he's just really, really loud and obviously drunk. So that's the first impression that we have of this person. So do you think that that's the first impression, or the whole entire party, the whole entire night is a first impression?
I think the first impression is just initially seeing the person act out, do whatever he's doing, or he, she, or whatever. So for me, I'm a person that I'm generally a quiet person, like you are too. So when I see someone that's really loud, really abrupt, rowdy, it's not my vibe. Like, there are there are scenarios or situations where you can be rowdy. Like, I can be rowdy, but it's got to be a specific scenario or an environment where I can be rowdy. Yeah, so obviously being a birthday bash, it's a good time. You're celebrating that moment. So, yeah, look, I'm initially going to be like, well, shit, this dude's rowdy as fuck. He's a bit lit. Maybe he's just fucking drank too much shit or sniffed a few too much lines. But I'm not gonna hate him or dislike him because of it. I'm just gonna go, well, he's a bit rowdy. He's a bit lit. Maybe he's different if I actually get to talk to him. And most cases, people are different when you actually talk to them. When you take the time to sit down, to get to know them, you unravel a character that you probably perceived differently initially.
Yeah, no, I think it's also, I agree with this one. So if it was like a birthday party, everyone's drunk, I wouldn't even count this as a first impression, like, essentially, because this person's drunk. When you're drunk, you can get quite hypo, really loud and rowdy and all that. Like, I would say that I would too. So me being how I am from day to day is completely different from when I drink. So I think I understand that point. So I would give this person the benefit of the doubt, and if I ever get a chance to see this person outside of this party, like say we randomly bumped into each other or something, that would be the first impression. Whereas this person that's already drunk, I wouldn't count that as much of a first impression because they're just too off their face.
Yeah, exactly right. So,
like, unless they were going around and like trying to kiss everyone's girlfriend or something like that, then I'd be like, okay, this guy has a problem.
Yeah, so if they're, obviously it's kind of hard if they're intoxicated, right? You don't really know what their intentions are specifically. But if you see them doing that sort of stuff, then you're kind of like, well, hang on, this guy's got to back up a little bit because he's crossing a line on certain things, right? So it just depends on what he or she's doing.
Alright, so from all of these scenarios, in general, is the first impression like the be-all, end-all for you? Or would you like to be able to meet these people a second time and, talk to them properly, or second, third, fourth time as well?
I think for me, I would like to at least talk to them, get to know them in some way or form, because I feel like if you're just seeing them from afar away, like, yes, you can sort of get a first impression on their physical appearance and stuff like that. Like, for an example, if I'm going out there to pick up a chick, for an example, first impressions mean a lot because you see the person first. So how they dress, how they perceive themselves, that sort of shit. That scenario, that will be important. But when it comes to other things, getting to know the person is more important because you want to obviously understand who they are, how do they talk, that sort of stuff. And that's when you'll figure out, oh, this guy's a fuckhead, or this guy's actually pretty cool, or this chick is pretty chill.
So at what point in time would you say that the first impression is enough where you don't want to meet this person ever again?
If I meet someone who I don't like, or I wouldn't say I don't like in terms of a character. So what I mean by that is, if I met a guy who is a total cockhead, who's all about him, his shit doesn't stink, then that's an instant write-off.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, or people who treat others like shit up front, whether it's like people who he or she may not know,
Yeah.
then that's a massive write-off to me, because I don't want to fuck with people like that. That's just not my vibe, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what you're the same?
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, like definitely give people the second or third chance, because even for me, like I'm not always like the best dressed, and maybe I was like in a hurry, went out to buy something at the grocery store, and then I probably look like a friggin' grandma, and people can't judge me for that. They don't know me. So, if someone met me again, then maybe I could be, and like, even what you dress isn't all that important. Like, it is important to an extent, but it's not all that important. What's really important to me in terms of gathering first impressions and to see what this person is like is really the body language and how they communicate with other people.
Yeah. And that's basically like what I agree to, right? So what I mentioned. So there's a lot more that goes into the first impressions for, I guess, us, right? We want to look deeper. We want to understand more, because first 1 minute of seeing someone is not really the full picture.
Yeah. And I think as we've grown as people, now that we've learned so many things over the years of time, it's a lot easier to know if a person's good or not. Like, obviously, you're still not going to give that first impression and be like, okay, that person's definitely bad. But you have more of an idea and a gauge whether or not this person's good or not. A lot easier than as opposed to when you were 14 and 15. Like, you won't know that.
Yeah, 100%.
As much. Like, there could be two-faced people, but I believe that I would know how to see that a lot easier than I did back then when I was younger.
Oh, yeah, and that comes down to experience, right? Experience in life and the things that you've grown up, gone through certain things. So, yeah, 100% experience will define and help you understand who is a dickhead or this person you can trust or that sort of stuff. And that all comes down to experience, time, just doing things and experiencing things. You'll eventually get there, right? So... but I think it's definitely an advantage to know and to ask the right questions, or to put someone in a situation where that you could get an answer from how they perceive or think things. So
yeah,
it is handy.
I think that's it for today, and let us know if first impressions is important for you and what counts as a first impression for you as well.
Yeah, let us know in the comments, hey, because it's really interesting to know how other people think. So shoot a DM or post a comment. We would love to know what you guys think and feel.
And that's it. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much if you have reached to the end. We really appreciate you for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please share it with your friends or family and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you are listening to.
Make sure you share any topics you'd like us to cover or questions you might have to our Instagram.
Slide it into our DMs.
Pika pika. You can also stay in the loop of all the behind the scenes and the release of our new episodes there too. Our Instagram is Ask the Duo Podcast. That's ASKTHEDUOPODCAST. Man, feels like I'm in a spelling bee competition right now. Alright, that's it for now, and we'll see you back here for our next episode. Bye!
See ya!